Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet and of YouTube. Welcome to Jibber. As always, I am your host, Toneshift, otherwise known as Skajaramas. And with me today, we actually have a new person joining us today. My latest patron, clocking in at $15 per post. We have Zach D. Hart, or just Zach, as we're probably going to call him here for the sake of convenience. Say hi.
Hello.
Yes, of course, we've also got the author of Change, Queen of the Hive, the Patreon-exclusive reading, Soaring on Little Wings, and several Idiocyverse one-shots as a co-author, Tom117Z.
Run, Zach, he has a gun.
What?
It's too late.
And lastly, we have Paladin57, who is also here.
Gee, I feel so special.
Hades isn't here, or I would have used that intro on him, because that's kind of his thing. So, how's everyone's week
He's our
been, huh?
token zebra.
Oh, not too bad. Just got back from the family get-together for Father's Day and celebrated my birthday a few days early.
That's cool.
Sweet.
Because it's on the 22nd, and it's the best time to do it.
My week has been kind of an odd mix of great and crap.
Oh?
Yeah, let me explain how that one works.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so, ways back, grandparents came over from Idaho, and that was why we missed Jibber Jabber last week, is because I was spending time with the family. And we hung out for a while, and so I didn't do any recording on those days because I hung out with family. Family went home. After they had left, I very suddenly developed a cold that fucked up my ability to record for about 4 more days. So I had like a 7 to 8 day stretch where I got nothing done. And that is not okay.
It sounds like there's a connection between the two.
Yeah, probably. My dad got the same symptoms for a few days, so probably that.
Curse your family. They come over and then they give you all the diseases.
Yeah. Anyway, but so yeah, spending time with the family, that was great. Getting sick because of them, not so great. But yeah. So we've got kind of a full list of topics for today. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic on the list, which is the mid-season finale, The Mean Six, and what all we thought of it. Now, it's worth noting, Zach hasn't seen it yet, but he's given me the okay for us to go into spoilers, so fear no spoilers here. Speak freely if you've seen it.
It reminded me of the episode where they got discorded.
Yeah, that was pretty much...
It reminded me of the video, for kids.
For kids. Yeah.
Killing people? Sure.
Yeah. It was an incredibly entertaining episode, though I do think they could have done a bit more with Chrysalis in it. I don't know. I think they could have done a bit more with her there. But I don't know. Maybe they're setting up for something later with the elements flickering dark or whatever, but in general, I liked it. Very entertaining episode. Very fun.
There are a lot of people who think she's Cozy Glow.
I don't think that.
Nah.
To be fair, though, I haven't actually seen much of Cozy Glow except for the meme face.
Didn't you watch the episode?
No.
What?
I watched the start of it, and then the CMC decided they were just going to start acting like a bunch of idiots, and I noped out.
Well, Cozy Glow, who seemed like a typical CMC story with them helping the kid, but the kid was odd in that she seemed to be playing up in very inconveniently the right places at the right time.
Who knows?
And there's one other reason, but I won't say because that's spoiler alert.
Ooh boy. Anyways, so oh my hands. Okay. Let's see here. But yeah. There are some terrifying faces in there, like mean Fluttershy. I hope you all freeze this winter face.
Mean Fluttershy is the best. It's just so amusing to watch, just because of the parallels. She made Flutter cry.
I hope you all freeze this winter. Oh.
Winter is coming.
Oh God.
Winter's here.
Also, I want to add that apparently I've heard that in the leaked version of the episode, the death scenes at the end were apparently a lot more brutal.
Really?
Ooh.
In what
Yeah,
way?
they were. I don't know. Just apparently, just the kind of the melting effect was focused on a bit longer to the point where they went all skeletal and shit, rather than just a bit melty.
Yeah. A shame they didn't go
Before.
that far, but oh well.
Well, yeah, they,
I was hoping there'd be.
I imagine why they cut it.
I was hoping there'd be confrontation between the the ones Chrysalis made and the main six.
You mean the main
Also-
6 and the mean 6?
Yes.
It's been highly noted by everyone around that Chrysalis has fallen a lot since we last saw her.
Yeah.
Not only is she's slipped mentally because she's talking to photos and clearly is wanting someone to rave at. It doesn't like being alone. To the point where even Twilight teased her about saying that she needs some friends.
I
false
need
Twilight.
friends. Servants.
Servants always fail you in the end.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, the fact that she hadn't been absorbing much love energy recently because false Twilight managed to defeat her in a magic duel.
Yep, on the run. Hasn't
Yep.
had much of a chance to nom.
Which it also explains why the real reason why he didn't confront the main six directly, like false Twilight was saying, because she would have got her ass beat.
Oh yeah, effortlessly.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a challenge.
Yeah.
Yes, poor Chrissy needs some friends.
Yep.
I'm sure she'll get them in season 9. I'm convinced that in the series finale she's going to get redeemed and crucial to defeating real big bad.
That would be cool. But yeah, in
Yep.
general, good episode. I had fun with it. There was some great, weird, and pointless material in there.
I kind of was disappointed that they did not notice that the doppelgangers were a bit off from the real deal.
Mine.
They kind of did question it towards the end, but they ended up just kind of putting off of them just all having
If
lost
you look at
patience.
you can tell the difference because you look at the cutie marks. They were the doppelgangers. They were completely different.
Oh, yeah.
I think Rainbow's was upside down. Applejack's was green.
Yes, but to be
Applejack's almost
fair,
like pears.
yes, but I mean, to be fair, among friends, what is the first thing you're going to look at? It's totally their ass. Absolutely, every single time. When
Well, if you ask the shipping
wave,
community.
wave hi to a friend. First thing you look at, not their eyes, not their face, their ass. Just look at those cheeks. Totally, that's totally what you're supposed to do. Absolutely. Can you just smell the sarcasm here?
So
Yes.
I can taste it.
it's also personal bias, but I like how the main 5 in their opposite modes were all just kind of crazy and mentally unstable, while Ply was the most sane of them, but the most evil. I liked it.
She was the manipulative bitch.
Yeah, and she was the only one that wasn't a raving lunatic that had no idea what they were doing. She kind of had a head.
Nice.
That sounds like not my problem.
From the way it actually sounds really
Mine.
different from when she almost got discorded.
Well, when Twilight got discorded the first time, she was just kind of depressed and resigned and didn't believe in friendship anymore. This time it was a bit more midnighty.
Power,
Well, going midnight because
power,
she was
power
just a clone.
hungry, sneaky, manipulative, bitchy.
Yeah, I doubt the clone could have gone midnighty because, well, she was a clone.
Anyways,
Well, I have to do say though, I like the Pinkie Pie one. Just so bored.
Killjoy.
Bard. 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 Kind of reminds you of that time when in Little Glimpses when Rainbow had to contemplate whether or not it would be worth her time to ram her head into the nearest wall hard enough to put a dent in it just so something would happen. Just to alleviate her boredom. It's like, is it worth it to give myself a concussion to alleviate my boredom?
Yeah.
Luckily, Cadence or someone came in and disrupted that, but... Anyways,
well, at least now we know that the elements of harmony will kill if threatened.
yep.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
They did not like the clones.
They did not. So, as it is, I do actually have a few things I kind of want to touch on real quick before we get to the long topic of today's episode. So first things first, or next topic rather, is that Little Glimpses. I have finished my reading of that. The final chapters will be going up at the end of this coming week. And it took me about 6 months to power through all of that. I started in December of last year, and only recently have I finally finished it off. And it's a nice feeling, I gotta say. I'm happy to finally have the reading done. I won't be doing a reading of the sequels, though, because Little Glimpses can stand very nicely on its own as a standalone story. So I'll be cutting that off there so I can branch out and explore other things. So that's kind of an important thing to note. I'd ask you guys something, but the final chapters haven't gone up on YouTube yet, so... But that leads into the next thing, which is the next fan fiction that I'm going to be reading to fill in that slot. I just got confirmation from the author earlier today. I've got permission. I posted a trailer for it, and I'm going to start recording this Thursday. It's called Promises. It's an older one, and it's one of those ones where when I sat down to read it, it basically drew me in for like the whole run, all 11 chapters. I read that whole story in one sitting. I could not put it down. So that's kind of why I decided to go with it as the next reading for the Thursday-Friday slot, because for one thing, it's relatively short. The author has something of a reputation. We'll be putting up a blog post about it. And it's just really good. I enjoyed it immensely when I read it the first time, so I'll probably enjoy it when I do it this time too.
Sweet.
Yep. And the basic premise, just it's already in the trailer, which I'm sure everyone who's watching this video has already seen. But the basic premise is that Scootaloo is suffering abuse from her mother's new cult friend, and Rainbow Dash winds up getting involved, and it's kind of a weird, on its head, Scoot abuse, Scoot adopt story, except Scootaloo isn't an orphan. But it's a really good, heartwarming, but also kind of sad and emotionally driven story. I really, really like it. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm hoping I can do it justice. So we'll see how that goes when it comes time.
Kind of reminds me of another story you read a while back. I'm just seeing if I can find it in my favorite list. Oh yeah, Lonely Winter Nights, which, not a Scooby-Doo story. It's kind of a story where Rainbow Dash discovered that Scooby was actually homeless and told nothing, was doing a lot to hide it, but was actually just living in a freaking alley, basically in a box. And the night she discovered it was a particularly cold winter night where Scooby almost ended up freezing to death.
Huh.
It's quite a heartwarming one. But,
is it a multi-chapter or a one-shot?
One shot.
Yeah, well, yeah. But yeah, so
19,000 words though, so it's a long one shot.
Yeah, okay. All right. So for the last 15 or so minutes, we've kind of been talking about general stuff, going over the last episode, me covering a few things that have had to do with my channel. And in that time, the newest person in here, Zach, hasn't really said a whole lot. And this is because we pretty much have a whole topic that's just going to revolve around Tim, because first time on the show, might as well give him a spotlight for a little bit.
You gotta make it fill 45 minutes there, Zach, so no pressure.
Oh god.
He doesn't have to use all 45 minutes of it.
Don't tell him that.
No, Tom.
You are no fun. And I can't believe I'm saying that to you.
Anyways, so essentially what's going to happen is apparently Zach's lined up a bunch of questions for me and Tom, and if he were here, Blank, but Blank's not here, so just questions for me and questions for Tom, and we'll go through those and answer them, and we'll probably just make shit up after that. So, Zach, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you for the spotlight. Let's hope I don't screw up.
Screw up on here? Never.
Yeah.
Have
I'm
you
expecting
seen the episodes where we improvise from start to finish?
Oh, wasn't
Yep.
there one where the
Have
one
you
will
seen
be
the
able to
episode
shoot
where
for
I
a while?
screwed up in?
All right. Well, I guess I'll get on to the first question. This is for Tone.
Alrighty.
What was it like making Bug in the Herd? I mean, I've listened through it all the way 2 times through, making sure I heard every word correctly, and like, what was it like? What was your thought process of just like
Do you mean
of
for
just
the
making-
writing of it or the reading?
a little bit of both?
Well, when I first sat down to write it, I'm not entirely sure where the inspiration came from, but I kind of wanted to write something with Chrysalis in it, especially since, I had recently started reading Change, and I was really enjoying that. I think I was actually on Queen of the Hive at that point, and I kind of wanted to do something with changelings in it myself, but I kind of wanted to take a different stab at it, and I got to thinking, about how could I do that set in current times in MLP, which, it was before, Season 7 started. So, and I got to thinking, when Chrysalis fled her hive, she was all alone, and I had it in my head, what if, because of, her stubbornness and anger, she completely, at first outright dismissed everything that she had just seen at her hive as being wrong and incorrect, with all of her drones deciding to side with Thorax and their color change and no longer needing to feed on love, in her mind, she perceived all of that as incorrect, and so she fled. But while on the run and in hiding, I got to thinking, now what if she actually started to question herself about it, watching from afar, seeing her drones becoming more and more happy? A few little seeds of doubt began to grow in her mind. Now, she was still incredibly stubborn and rigid in her mentality, and so I ultimately just decided to just go with it from there and just kind of set it all up. And yes, the character in that story is loosely based off of one of my OCs to the point of sharing the same name, cutie mark, color scheme, and occupation, but the personality as well as the backstory are different, so it's not like I was shipping myself with Chrysalis. I'm not that naive.
Lies. You secretly love her.
Not like that.
Well,
Me
I guess
and Tom and
makes sense.
Hades all beg to differ.
So, yeah, but, and so a lot of it was based, and I wound up improvising a lot of what I write. So a lot of that story, like I said, was improvised. There was an entire section that I wound up axing towards the end when I realized it wouldn't work with how things had panned out due to my improvisational writing style. There was going to be an entire sequence where, instead of keeping her disguise when going to the hospital where Tone was being treated at, she was going to walk there just as herself, no disguise. With the notion being that if someone gets in her way, she'll ignore them and just keep moving because she doesn't give a shit about them. She's after one goal, and they can just let her get to it but I wound up not going with that because we already had one big fight scene in that story, and it was a slice of life romance story. Fight scenes don't really work there. I only had the one with the Ursa Major to help set up the tone shift in the hospital sequence. But with the original version of that sequence, with Chrysalis trying to get there without her disguise, what was going to happen was she was going to go there and get confronted by Twilight and Starlight because all of Ponyville's going into a panic because, oh shit, Chrysalis is in town. And there was going to be this moment where Twilight and Starlight confront her and are trying to stare her down, and she just keeps walking and tells them, "Get out of my way. I don't have the time, patience, or reason to deal with you right now." That would, lead to them, of course, not letting her pass, and then she'll try to force her way past. And there was going to be this fight scene where for a moment she would start coming back to her old ways, including about to bite down into Starlight's neck to kill her after pinning her down, and then stopping as she recalls, all the shit she'd recently gone through with Tone and the fact that if she went through with this, she'd be betraying more or less all the things they had built up over their time together, and so she hesitates. And in that hesitation, Twilight gets a blast on her, and she's knocked out, but not before sending a healing spell to the hospital to make sure Tone is at least stable, because in the original version of things, he wasn't stabilized. He was still in critical condition. And it would only
So-
be after that she would then be taken to the hospital to see him. And
Alright.
and as far as the reading goes, I pretty much just read it because I thought it was a fun story to read. It was fun to write. Reason stands, it would be fun to read too, and it was. Of course, that was before I started putting music and sound effects back into my readings. So.
All right. I guess I got a little bit more than you answered 2 of my questions.
You asked for my thought process. I gave you it. Out of curiosity, what was the other question going to be?
It was stuff that you cut out that because of random reasons or just reasons that wouldn't work.
Ah, yeah. All right, fair enough.
All right. This next one is for Tom.
Hi.
And this hello. And this one is kind of like the second question I was about to ask Tone, but in change or it basically in all the stuff you've written for Change and Queen of the Hive, is there stuff that never made it that you wanted to do?
That I wanted to do. Well, that's a little more complicated because I've told the story on Jibber Jabber before, where Change was originally going to be 12 chapters long.
Well, I know.
And it just kind of
Oh,
exploded.
So originally I was going to have a whole thing with Blue Blood, and the plotline was going to be completely different. That I ended up cutting. In terms of cutting things that I wanted to add, I don't necessarily believe so. Everything I cut either because it wouldn't work for the story or because it was shit.
All right. Well, yeah, I can see that. All right. And this one is
I'll
just
tell-
for
So I'll tell you if I think of anything, but on the top of my head, no.
well, here's for a question for all of you. Do you guys have any other interests? I mean, Tone has his Dungeons and Dragons. I suspect.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Video games.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd and laughing. Yeah, nerd.
Yeah, for me, hobbies outside of my job include reading just for the sake of it, usually fanfics, of course, but also video games and D&D. Those are the big ones. I do have a few others, but they're inconsequential compared to those.
All right.
Yeah, in my spare time, I tend to either play video games like Fallout or Halo. Those are some big ones. Or another thing I've gone into since joining university, is LARPing. I assume you know what LARPing is.
All right.
It's essentially D&D, but you actually move
In
to
real
do-
life,
yeah,
you
in
actually
real
do
life.
it.
You actually do
Oh,
the
wow.
things not to. You actually hit someone with a foam sword instead of saying, I attack them with my sword, and then rolling dice. You just smack them
Yeah,
in
and
the
those things are fucking hurt.
For
Like,
a second there, I thought
I've been hit with a warhammer. So, yeah, there's that. Like there was so I go to an event like every couple of months now called HMS, which is actually CX and Sorcery. I'm not entirely sure why it's abbreviated as HMS, but whatever. Where yeah, we just go to a big old field and camp out for a few days and actually act the whole thing out. Which, well, last event I went there, the death of my character literally came within a which way we flipped a switch. So that was fun.
All right. I'm gonna move on to the next question.
All right.
All right. So this one is for all of you again. Any games that you really enjoyed, like in the past or currently enjoying now?
Can you specify a bit more what type of game? Because I could go on for hours.
Yep.
Well, I guess
Single player,
Yeah.
multiplayer, RPG, action game, shooter, what?
single player,
Yes.
single player, and multiplayer.
Well,
For single
Well,
player,
that's a broad spectrum.
that
single player, I enjoy Fallout, specifically New Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm writing a Fallout fic, so you can imagine that I enjoy Fallout quite a fair bit.
I enjoy Fallout as well, though I'm more of an Elder Scrolls fan. But as far as like my favorite games at present, my favorite games that I spend the most time in would be Warframe, Final Fantasy XIV, and And yeah, at present, those are the games I'm playing the most. But for games I've enjoyed the most over my time playing games, I definitely really liked The Last of Us. The Last Guardian was a great one. I really enjoyed. I pretty much love the entirety of the Final Fantasy franchise, with a few exceptions like 12 and the 13 trilogy. Not too much of a fan of those.
Yeah.
And I cast kind of a broad net when it comes to video games. I can't nail down specifically what types of games I enjoy. I think it's more about, does it keep me interested for more than a few moments. Also, another game I've really enjoyed recently was Ori and the Blind Forest. Although, granted, that one was mostly because of the art style and the music. The gameplay itself, while good and fun and very well polished, it was a Metroidvania, and that's not really my style of game more often than not. But the visuals and the music and the sound design were more than enough to keep me interested. And the story was pretty good, too. Very emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, as long as the game has a good story or excellent gameplay, or ideally a mixture of both, I'll probably enjoy it. Like, if it's something that just puts graphics over gameplay or story, then it can kind of go take a hike.
Yeah.
Order 1866.
Yeah, definitely. All right. I guess the next question is, how do you know what music to use in each moment? This is for Tone.
Well, usually when I sit down to do a reading of a chapter, I'd read through the chapter one time first. And before I even grab a story to do a reading of, it has to be one that I've read before and enjoyed. It has to be something I know I'm going to enjoy doing. So I already know the basic plot beats of the story going in. So I can already have a general idea of what music to use and when. And I have a massive folder of music from different composers, Radiark, Vince Vept, Lucas King, a few from Kevin MacLeod, and a fuck ton from a website called Epidemic Sound that I actually have to pay a subscription to get access to all that music, but I have an enormous collection as a result. One of the pieces of music that I got from Epidemic Sound was actually the piece of music used in the trailer for Promises that I put up earlier today. So, and a lot of it just boils down to, in the context of the scene, what works, what would sound good. And sometimes you'll notice I don't add music to certain scenes. Prime example, spoiler warning for Change Queen of the Hive coming up if you aren't very far into that yet. But in that reading, when I got to the scene where Queen Draco died, when I got to that scene, and after she finally dropped to the ground and thudded, I had silence. Only the background ambience of the environment, and that was it. No other sounds, no music. And a lot of that is because silence, when utilized correctly, can be just as impactful as really good music. And especially
more so.
Yeah. When you know, it's important to know when to have things become quiet. When to have
like,
things...
imagine. Sorry to interrupt, but imagine if Brian in that scene just had Draco die, and all of a sudden you had the freaking Mario death sound.
I mean, that would be for a comedy story, but like... Yeah, no, I would never do that. That's just dumb, but...
I don't know why. I just thought of Draco dying and that sound playing. I'm a terrible person.
Yes.
I mean, I did kill him in the first place, so of course I'm a terrible person.
Yes. But yeah, a lot of it, like I said, is just kind of listening to what's going on in the scene, and then just going through my catalog. And I have a lot of the music actually memorized already, specifically all the stuff in my Radiark folder. All of that music I already know. But like, there's one particular piece of music that I oftentimes use with Soaring on Little Wings chapters, which has basically become synonymous with Little Wing herself in that story. It's basically her theme as a character. And it's by Lucas King, and it's called Casey's Lullaby. It's a piano theme that comes up pretty much every time Little Wing is spending happy time with her family. It's very versatile, and it fits her to a fucking T. Especially in her younger years.
Oh, I miss those years.
Now this works into my next question. Have you ever been confused with placement of music? If you've read it, but you're not sure what the scene is detailing.
No, not really, because if a scene confuses me in a story, that probably means the story itself wasn't very good, and that means I'm not going to do a reading of it.
All right. Oh, what were you about to say?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh. All right. What do you think is the best fic you've read so far?
Oh, shit. Asking me
Loaded question.
asking me a question that is damn hard for me to answer because I don't operate off of favorites lists very well. But if I had to pick what I thought in recent times was the best one,
And I don't mean as best as in like your favorite. I mean as best as in like quality or whatever. Just
I mean,
what?
I kind of got to sidetrack you there for a second because I am one of those weird people who doesn't really prescribe to the notion of objective quality in a medium centered around entertainment, because what one person finds to be objectively a piece of art, and a masterful one at that, is to another person going to be just another piece of garbage on the wall. And as a result, media itself as an entertainment medium cannot really be you can't really prescribe objective good quality, or whether or not it's objectively good or objectively bad, to a piece of artistic or creative media that's designed for entertainment, because it ultimately boils down to the subjective and personal opinions of the individual. I might like one story, but everyone else might still hate it. That doesn't necessarily invalidate my opinion or theirs. It's called an opinion for a reason, and when it comes to things that are based off of opinion, like entertainment mediums, objective quality ceases to matter. Or at the very least, objective good or bad quality. Like polish on a game, or like the syntactical functionality of a story, or how well it's polished grammatically, those are objective qualities, sure. But as far as like the actual contents of the story and how it's told, it depends on the individual reader and whether or not they enjoyed it. So if you ask me what I think the best story I've done a reading of is, I'm gonna have to default to what my favorite is, because I have no other way of answering that actually lines up with how I feel.
Oh.
So in this case, if I had to pick which one would be my favorite story out of all the ones I've done a reading of, it would be a toss-up between Human Nature and Change, the original one. The first one. One of those. I'm not sure which. I imagine I'll be able to more accurately come to a conclusion on that once Human Nature is done in 100 years. Blank, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Woohoo! Anyways.
Yes.
And probably flip you off when this is over.
Oh, yeah, he totally is.
You know, the weird thing about Change, I know a lot of people seem to prefer the original Change, but I actually kind of prefer Queen of the Hive, though that's mostly simply because of Change's first act, which I felt was personally quite weak, if only because of the weaker chapter length, not with the shorter chapter lengths.
I myself would actually have to agree with that sentiment, that I think the first Change was the better of the two, but that's mostly because I do think like there were a few character decisions and logical mishaps in the story. They weren't as egregious as some people made them out to be in the comments, but there were a few issues with character thought processes and dot connections that kind of made it feel, in some spots, like it could have been done better, but in general, Queen of the Hive is still a good story. Really, really good. I just think the original Change was a bit better.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I liked the first few acts of Change really well. I had to re-listen to it. And here's my final question that I was able to think of in the short time.
You had a day.
I know.
Yes,
I know.
24 hours, so little.
But I
time.
did.
What are you gonna do?
I didn't think of start writing these down until like last night, and by the time I started writing these, it was like 5 o'clock.
Well, what's your question?
Now, this does require you to have at least knowledge of Samurai Jack, the cartoon from Cartoon Network.
Oh boy. How much knowledge are we talking here?
Just the base premise of the main villain.
Wait, what was the question? I missed that. Sorry.
Well, I'm about to say the question. Aku versus Discord without being like reformed. Who's the more powerful or
Discord.
I mean, I know basically nothing about Aku other than he's a shape-shifting master of darkness.
Yeah, but Aku can't bend reality to his very whim, so
yet he's able to just send Jack into the future, like I don't know how long, but
It's hard to...
Discord Discord's gonna throw Treehugger into an alternate dimension.
Yeah, that transcends time travel a little bit. Yeah, I would have to agree. I don't know a whole lot about Aku, but when you're comparing any character to what is essentially Q from Star Trek, you gotta go with the one who's basically omnipotent.
Yes, and you have to do very specific things to defeat him, either like play to his ego and just his overdramatic nature. Because in the original season 2 finale, he could have defeated them all easily, but it was only because of his own ego and just boredom that ended up being his undoing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or if you have a magic changing rock.
Now the only reason I asked this is because my friend, well, he keeps asking me this, and I started thinking, seriously, Discord can beat Aku without trying.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about what Aku could do. Then, sure, Aku in the final season just shows a lot of his power, but it's nowhere near Discord's. I mean, Discord could just turn him into a can of soup.
And then drink him and call it a day.
Yep. No, he's more likely to eat the soup can than throw away the soup.
He's likely to turn Aku into the soup can, and there's just soup inside, and then he'll eat the can and then just throw the frozen block of soup backwards, and it'll explode in a nuclear fire.
Exactly.
Because that makes sense.
Alright,
It'll feed Kevin.
Sense.
Makes sense. Oh, what fun is there in making sense?
Oh, I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got for questions. We can now wing it, or
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh god, I was expecting that to take longer.
We are 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Well, we now have to improvise for 20 minutes.
Oh no, improvisation, what a disaster.
I mean, whenever we improvise, it usually is a disaster, yeah.
We are a disaster.
Yeah. Well...
Did you meet? I do got this to ask. Did you meet Dr. Wolf at the that con you went to? The
Everfree Northwest. I think I saw him in passing. Like, I think he was going into a room to actually record one of the videos he posted, but I did not get to talk to him.
Wait, the Dr. Wolf.
Yeah, he was at Everfree Northwest. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but I did see him in passing, I think.
Dang.
I did, however, get to talk to Apple Geek, though.
Right.
He's a reactor. That was kind of a fun moment. Kind of chit-chatted back and forth. I also got to meet Watch Pony.
Ooh.
Yep. And Brittany Ackerman, and that was pretty cool. Brittany Ackerman being one of the being a voice actor in the community. Sang as Rainbow Dash in the Pony Girl music video.
Mm.
Yep. And like I've mentioned in the past, she and I are both doing voices for that Ponies game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The
We've done
ponies.
more of that.
Yeah. I posted my first recording session of that. Until they get a bit further along with actual development, they're not going to worry too much about recording voice work, because that's actually kind of a thing that happens in video game development. Is voice work, traditionally speaking, is one of the last things the developers worry about. They worry about getting the game itself up and running before they worry about, like, the voices. That's one of the last things on the list.
Especially when those voices are gibberish.
Just in general, but yeah.
Symbolish.
Yeah. In this case, whenever we get as I understand, they're planning on getting out a buy-build demo sometime this summer. Maybe this fall is the plan. Maybe with a preset pony that can go around and interact with things, but that's a very big if on that one. Mostly they just want to get the buy and build mode demo out sometime this summer or fall, and then they'll start working on expanding into the live mode.
Yeah, we need to make those swimming pools and delete the ladders.
Yeah.
Near as I can tell, from what I understand, the current plan is, I don't remember if they're planning on having alicorns or not. I know, the 3 main pony races are going to be there. And I do know that one of the plans they're having, I mean, I'm in the development discussion server, so I can listen into all of their discussions about development. A lot of it goes over my head, especially the programming shit. Woo! But I can listen in and offer suggestions wherever, and I have. But in general, near as I can tell, the current plan is, well, at least as far as like playable races and whatnot goes, once all of the 3 main pony races are in, after that, then let's see here. I think what they're planning on doing with like changelings is have them basically be like the aliens, and add them in with a later update because I think they're planning on going about it like there's the base game release. And then you can't have a Sims game without like 80 expansions, but this is a passion project and no money's involved. So there'll just be like a bunch of expansion-sized updates that come out over time is the idea, I think. Time will tell how well that works out in the end, but I'm optimistic. They're staying on top of things and they're communicating and they're regularly chatting back and forth. The discussion thread isn't stagnant. They're making progress.
Sweet.
Well, I guess I got another question that I just thought of. Oh, alicorns, overpowered or not as powerful as we think?
Have you seen how much they get defeated?
The way I see it, alicorns are ludicrously powerful. The only reason they seem so underpowered to us is because we usually see them dealing with things that are either outside their sphere of influence or just transcend them. In a lot of cases, that's the only reason I think why alicorns so often seem so underpowered. But
also, I've always been of the opinion something can be a super powerful being that can shape reality, but if you hit in the head and they got a concussion, they've got a fucking concussion.
Yeah,
they're still physical beings.
Yeah.
Also, the thing about them is. They're all powerful because obviously they have enough power to move celestial bodies and control the gravitational forces of a solar system. But at the end of the day, they'd be the first to tell you that they're still just people, even if they're treated as gods by some people, ponies and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, give Twilight another 100 years or so, and they'll probably put her on a pedestal as well, because ponies will grow up with her as a princess rather than the lowly Ponyville librarian.
And of course, that's assuming she's gonna live forever.
I think she will. I'm pretty sure alicorns are just immortal.
I'm personally operating under the assumption that unless they state directly in the show that she's gonna live forever, that she's still aging like a typical pony. That would be my perception of it at any rate, because I'm pretty sure Twilight wouldn't want to live forever.
That's the place where we kind of disagree.
I mean, I would not. I mean, I know for sure I wouldn't want to live forever. Living forever comes with a whole assortment of problems. For one thing, life is eventually going to get really fucking boring. But it's also going to be really goddamn depressing because you get to stay young while everyone you know and love dies around you. You might be able to make new friends, but that's not going to heal the wounds of the ones you've lost. That's not how that works. So,
I kind of went into that a little bit with Harmony Among the Stars, with Twilight at the very beginning, kind of ruminating on the friends are long dead, though it's kind of that she's kind of like wise and accepting of how the universe goes, takes it one day at a time.
Yeah.
But another thing, even if they're immortal, saying that they can live forever is kind of an exaggeration because they can still be killed. And eventually the crunch happens.
They're ageless. They don't seem to age. But still, I mean, from my perspective...
Even the immortals die eventually.
Yeah, and to be fair, it is worth noting that while at Everfree Northwest, one of the show writers, well, they didn't comment directly on Twilight's immortality or on Twilight really at all in the particular segment where this line came about, but they did state that in a lot of cases, because of how many side continuities there are with MLP, like with comics and the Journal of the Two Sisters and all of these various things that sort of overlap and interlap and create a lot of conflicting things as far as like continuity goes and all the bonus material, they've gone ahead. The guy, one of the lead writers, just up and said, the main canon you should concern yourself with is your headcanon. Make your headcanon and stick to it.
Unless the show says otherwise. I just kind of see the comics and the show as kind of AUs, like two different realities.
Yeah, they're separate realities, and and so the way I see it, and unless they actively outright state that Twilight's gonna remain at her age and outlive her friends or whatever, I'm gonna operate under the assumption that that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, Comics Luna has a pet possum. Or Tiberius, for some reason.
Yeah. Nope. Let's see here.
15 minutes remaining.
Yeah. I'm kind of wondering whether or not I want to talk about Little Consequences at all, but that's not a thing I'm doing on my channel, so I'm not sure what merits there would be with that.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people actually read your shit as well.
Topic for discussion.
I suppose. The question then remains, what would I want to talk about it? I mean, Zach, I suppose I ought to ask you, have you read that particular series, or are you only listening to the readings of it?
Right now, I am currently beginning it. I don't read all that much, so whenever I get a chance to read it, I do. But
I mean, the reason I ask is because I'm not going to be reading past little glimpses on my channel. So, if the reading is your only way of getting into that particular story, then I'm going to be talking about shit you won't be able to get access to or won't access or something.
Like I said, I am in process of reading chapter 1 or chapter 2. I don't remember. I started reading it like I want to say a week ago.
And is that choices, consequences, or glimpses?
I think. Wait a minute. Oh, your choices is after Little Glimpses, right?
Yes, it's the sequel.
Yes.
Okay, then compromises is the one after choices.
Consequences is the third story. Yes.
Okay, then I'm actually on choices.
Okay. Which means I actually don't want to talk about consequences because I'll wind up spoiling shit. Unless, wait, do you give a shit one way or the other?
I'm very loose on consequences. I mean,
I'm thinking of consequences.
I'm very loose on spoilers unless it's something that I'm actively trying to avoid, like, say, Zelda Breath of the Wild spoilers.
All right. Well, I suppose I could talk about one of the things I'm trying to do with consequences a bit. The thing is, I'm trying to figure out which one. Kind of grasping at straws here.
Yeah. Then I know more about consequences than most people because me and Brian talk a lot behind the scenes about it.
I do know that one of the things I'm wanting to do with it is I definitely want to make sure that Fluttershy has more of a presence in it narratively than she did in Choices. Because she's Ramadash's childhood friend, and she's also been friends with Twilight since they were both fillies, thanks to, the alternate timeline. But I feel like she kind of got the short end of the stick as far as the main 6 goes in Choices. Applejack got more dialogue and screen time than Fluttershy did.
Wow, it's like the opposite of the movie.
Yeah. Which is kind of, I guess, it feels backwards to me, and I kind of want to make sure Fluttershy has more to do, and I've been figuring out a good way I can do that is by having her interact with Wind Whisper and Thorax a lot.
I'm sure Wind Whisper's gonna need some kindness and soft words with certain things.
Oh yeah,
coming up.
Yeah. Although there is also that major spoiler warning. No, never mind. Not going there. Not going there right now. No, fuck it. No.
Steady tone. Steady.
Yeah, I'll blab at you about that after we're done recording this.
Well,
I sent him a picture that contains a ludicrously big spoiler, but he has to figure it out for himself.
Is it the one with the eyes?
It is the one with the eyes, yes.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. But while we're talking about Fig, I might as well plug this Friday. Actually, no, it's Friday. Well, I'm writing this Friday, but it's coming out this Saturday. the new change is starting.
Yes.
Yay. Change Avia. I'm facing it's a slice of life story, kind of like Soaring a Little Wing was. It's going to be a lot shorter, probably like 15, 16 chapters only, because it's more of a mid-call kind of thing to get to know Avia a bit before the next big one. But yeah, it's the fluffy side of change. I'm looking forward to it. So prepare for cute bugs.
Yeah, cute bugs. You know, that actually reminds me about something. You recently finished writing Soaring on Little Wings.
Oh yeah, I've been making people cry.
Yes, you have. Me not included, but you came close.
You said you were crying on the inside like Applejack's like it.
It's true. Anyways, but, ow, that hurt! Shouldn't have done that. Let me explain that really quick, because not everyone knows. Yesterday, before I sat down to record that day's chapter of Soaring on Little Wings, I went for a walk to wake up my mind and all that. While I was out there, I tripped, fell forward, and caught myself using my hands on the sun-roasted sidewalk pavement. I stood up, and my hand, and like the balls and palms of my hands were basically reduced to mulch from that impact. I don't know why, but I just looked at it, despite the fact that it was excruciatingly painful, and just said, "Oh, this hurts," and then just started laughing before figuring out, well, it's time for me to go home, because while taking a long walk is a great mental stimulant, excruciating agony is an even better one. So I went home, laughing to myself the whole way, because for some reason it was very amusing to me. And then those dyes promptly faded away when I realized I was going to have to clean this with Purell.
I was gonna say, even though the second one is a lot better, I think you always go with the first one, though.
Yeah. But, yeah, and I just clapped my hands together, and I still have mulch for palms, so that hurt. But back to what I was talking about. As you finally finished Soaring on Little Wings, I'm contemplating starting to record it on more than just Saturdays, so I can finish it off a bit quicker, because I'm still planning, when that story is done, to post it pretty much all in a row, one chapter per day, every day, for its whole duration on YouTube, so that the YouTube audience can finally get it.
Well, you have a bunch already recorded that's not on YouTube, and, well, I suppose it is.
Only the prologue is on YouTube, but once I have the whole thing finished and recorded, I'm going to put all of the videos on YouTube one day at a time up there. Just going to schedule them up, and they'll go alongside all my regular uploads. But I have to finish the reading first. I just recorded 25.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're on 25, and it's 45, so you're 20 chapters to go.
Yeah.
I could start it tonight and probably be done in a week.
Not a week, because I would only be recording on Saturdays and Sundays.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do with the epilogue and with similar such chapters.
Yeah, that ought to be fun.
And the comments.
Can't wait.
Fun.
I've been enjoying those.
Yeah, I'll probably put the epilogue at it'll probably be its own video because it's so far removed. I wound up putting the last chapter of Little Glimpses and its epilogue together into one video, because one kind of leads directly into the other, but I probably won't do that with Soaring on Little Wings, because the epilogue is many, many years removed from the previous chapter.
In chapter 44, she's 22. In chapter 40 or 45, the epilogue, she's probably in her 80s or 90s. So, yeah, just a bit.
many years removed.
Yep.
So I'll probably separate those out just for the sake of not confusing people. But that'll basically be like a month and a half of basically nothing but daily posts in that one story alongside my regular uploads. That'll hopefully give me a nice boon when it finally comes to that time. Because
people are planning, what was all this Patreon exclusive stuff about?
Yeah, The idea is Patreon exclusive reading will stay on Patreon until the whole story is done, and then it all goes up on YouTube all at once.
And then you gotta find a new Patreon exclusive.
Yeah, I am gonna have to do that, aren't I?
Yes.
The problem is it's probably gonna have to be either from me or someone I know, because asking someone I don't know, hey, can I read this story? It'll only be available on my Patreon for like a long ass time. Probably isn't gonna go over well with a lot of people.
I'm just looking what stories I have, because you could always use that opportunity to continue with choices.
I suppose I could, but at the same time, I want to branch out and tackle more authors than just myself or you. Broadening my horizons and getting to more stories than just us two means word about me will be spread farther through those authors and their individual follower bases, which means my own viewer base will grow. Yes, I do try to go with stories I enjoy, but I also try to make sure that those stories I enjoy, at least for right now, also have at least something of a reputation, on the grounds that I want this to be my living, but if I want it to be a living, I regrettably have to have a lot more people showing up, and so I am kind of trying to do some marketing by making sure I'm hitting larger stories.
Well, you got 20 chapters to figure it out.
Yep. I've got 20 chapters to figure it out. Who knows, might just go with something from you. Maybe that's how I'll do the Fallout Equestria fic you're working on.
I wouldn't be opposed if I get you reading the bloody thing.
No, that's something I'd probably pay for.
Yeah.
Wait, I am.
Well, we'll see. It's probably more than a few months out yet anyway, so.
Well, if it comes down to Fallout Equestria fix, you could always try Hades.
No, see, I don't want to badmouth it because Hades watches these, I know, but
So do I.
and he's my friend too, but it doesn't quite meet the bar. So
It's mostly because it's his first story. Like, my first story was a shitty Doctor Who's thing.
yeah, first stories are usually always the worst, and if he can if he can definitely build upon and improve his writing style and technique and all of that stuff, then sure, if he can write something good enough in the future, I'll happily do a reading of it. But he's got to get there first, and right now I just don't think he's there. I'm sorry, Hades. Please don't eviscerate my guts with a spoon.
Hey, don't worry. He threatened to come all the way down here and try to kill me. So, I'm not going to go into why, so I'll leave everybody guessing.
Puns, probably.
Nope, something else.
Oh, boy.
I do wish it was puns, but no.
And that actually reminds me, there's something I actually need to get back on top of that I haven't recently.
Oh?
The Fiends trilogy.
Oh, God.
Yeah. We need to see how you bastardly end it.
I mean, I've still got the whole Battle in the Crystal Empire to go through, and then I've got the last chunk of the story to write up.
Is that part of the Mayor Who Eats Monsters storyline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mayor That Eats the Monsters is the first story in the Fiends trilogy.
Yeah.
The next up was The Fiend That Heralds Dark Skies, and the third one is The Ones Who Returned from Stone.
The Bastard Trilogy.
The Fiends trilogy, get it right.
Bastard Trilogy.
No, it's the Bastard Trilogy.
It's the originator of the Utter of the Bastard, so it's the Bastard Trilogy.
Yes, because of what I did to Celestia at the end of The Mayor That Eats the Monsters. I won't say what it is. That actually does remind me, I'll take this opportunity while we're on the topic to actually plug another fan fiction reader who's actually reading that series. And when he actually gets to the main villain, Luminous Horizon's first appearance, and just in general, I'll be voicing Horizon. I've already discussed that with him. That's the plan. I'll also be voicing Skytooth in the sequel. But
you just want to be creepy and take the opportunity to freak people out, don't you?
It's a horror series, so yeah.
I was gonna say no. It's just Tone wants to be a villain.
Skytooth is very fun to voice.
What are you talking about? He's already a villain.
Again, Tone loves being a villain, and who doesn't?
Yeah.
They always have the nicer stuff.
But yes, anyways, the fanfiction reader's name here on YouTube is Lecter. He's still learning, and his vocal range isn't the widest I've ever seen, but he definitely has a lot of potential, a lot of promise. Go ahead, go check him out. He does have a few other readings too. Like one story he's reading involves King Sombra and is called "Unfortunately, I Am the King of Equestria" or something like that.
Can't wait for him to continue that.
Isn't that one where a human inhabits Sombra's body or something?
I don't know. All I know for sure is that we are officially at 1 hour, and as such, it is time for this video to end. So, yeah, timed that perfectly. So, thank you all,
Yes,
ladies and
so
gentlemen.
Can you please take that gun away from my head now, please?
Thank you all,
It's
ladies
over
and
there.
gentlemen of the internet, for tuning in to this episode of Jibber Jabber. We will see you next time. Keep on listening, folks. Bye-bye.
Ta-ra.